Scott says, how did SF fall in love with Trey Lance so fast? I don't see it that way. I see it as they're willing to trade Jimmy Garoppolo, which shows some confidence in Trey, but they're also more than willing to hedge for one more year and have Trey as a starter and Jimmy as the backup, which also says something about how they feel. I think it says just as much about them as it says about Trey, because this is the same team that thought Tom Brady was washed up and Patrick Mahomes wasn't worth a look. I mean, their track record of judging quarterbacks is spotty at best. So it says a lot about the Niners and their lack of confidence judging that position as it does with Trey himself. I really do. So we'll see.
Maybe not confidence, but definitely conviction. They don't seem convicted like Trey Lance. You would think that the big question would be the day they invested in all those picks into the trade, not like some point after that. But you know what? We'll see how it goes. I think what they do, if I'm handicapping this correctly, I think they know what they have in Trey Lance, the person. They really like the person. They really like so many of his attributes, his intelligence, his love of football, the process and everything. But there are some, with the bullets flying and, can he be accurate down the field? What happens if he starts taking some hits? How's he going to react to the season? There's a lot of unknowns with an FCS quarterback, and there's an awful lot on the line. Personally, for those guys, professionally, there's a lot of veteran players. I mean, this is going to be a place you don't want to be if all of a sudden the Niners start out 0-6 and Trey's got like 2 touchdowns and 9 picks and Jimmy's been traded to Seattle. I mean, just close your eyes and think about that for a second. So I think they're hedging because they don't have a lot of conviction that they made the right call. I think they did make the right call, and I think time's going to prove them correctly, prove correct that Trey was the guy. But I don't know that they're convicted in it, and it seems like maybe they're not.
But what's strange about that is the moment they traded 3 first-round picks plus a third to move up a month before the draft just to get in position to take Trey Lance. I mean, that's the most confident move. It seemed like the most confident move ever. When they did it, it was like, wow, they must know something we don't know. They must really like who they're going to take. But it turns out they have as many questions as anyone else about him. And it just makes that initial trade seem so strange. How do you give up that much for someone who you ultimately don't have that much conviction in, as you said? How? I mean, the Chiefs gave up a fraction of that to move up for Patrick Mahomes. And they saw a little bit, and they're like, actually, we're going all in. We're betting all of our careers on this kid. We've seen enough. When you give 3 first-round picks, you sort of send the signal like you've seen enough already. But then you bring him in, you're like, you know what? Actually, he only played 1 year at FCS school. Yeah, that's what everyone said. So strange. It's just so strange. I guess
it is. Well, not only that, if they'd stayed at 13, wasn't that their original pick? Yeah. Mac Jones falls in their lap. Yeah. And there's people to this day who are pretty credible around the NFL who believe that they wanted Mac Jones. So I don't know.
If they had taken Mac Jones at 13, everyone would have praised him.
Yeah. Well, heck yeah.
Everyone would have praised him. But they traded up to 3, and it seemed like no one really understood why. You did it. That's a draft night trade if you make one. That was a month before the draft they did it. It was unclear who they were going to take. They had this whole
They were still in evaluation mode.
They were still in evaluation. It just was bizarre. And again, my theory is that this organization has not been in lockstep on what to do with the quarterback position in a very long time. And these are some of the consequences of that.
I just think the quarterback position is so hard to handicap, and it's guesswork. At the end of the day, you're making guesswork. So I think if you said what was their reasoning here, what was their thinking with Trey, I think that they looked at Trey and said, this guy has the best skills, and if we put him in through the best process, which is redshirt him for a year, with our play caller, and you get the best talent, the best, player, and then you coach them up through the right process. And if they love football, man, you're really going to have something special. And so now we're going to find out. We're on the doorstep to finding out what he is. And I think I already saw at minicamp that this guy looks special. I feel like I saw that a little bit in the second half against the Texans. Go back to that game. The 49er offensive line was not good that game. There were free guys coming at Trey Lance, full running starts, and he's dodging guys left and right and extending plays. That was a game the 49ers had to win, and it was a rough first half. I'm not saying there's not going to be bumps in the road, but this kid, to me, is going to be a very good NFL quarterback. I'd be shocked if he wasn't. So we'll see. We'll see. But I do get the sense that maybe there's some people inside the organization that are like, yeah, maybe it would be advantageous to keep Jimmy around.
Yeah, I think it's going to be – I think we're going to look back in 4 or 5 months and kind of laugh at all this hand-wringing about Trey Lance. I think we've seen signs that he's going to be really good in the limited action that he's had last year and in camp. I think what's going to happen with Trey is sort of what happened with Colin Kaepernick and Lamar Jackson. I think I think Trey's going to have a lot of success early on because the offense is going to be so much different with him than it was with Jimmy Garoppolo. All the principles and all the strategies that these defensive coordinators had for facing the Niners are going to go out the door. Now you have to defend the deep pass. Now you have to defend bootlegs and play action and zone and 11 on 11 run game. I mean, it's a whole different offense. I think defenses are going to be on their heels, and what you're going to see is, as he gets more exposed to the league, the scouting report on him will be more sophisticated, and he'll have to adjust. Happened to Jimmy. It's happening to Lamar right now. I think he's going to have a lot of success early on. I could be wrong, but I think unless the offensive line gets him hurt, he's got a really freaking good team around him, and Kyle can really make things easy. I think he's going to put up big numbers early on.
I do too. I do too. The only thing is he may have to, because I think they lost a lot with DJ Jones. It's a huge year for Kinlaw. It's a huge year for the run D in the middle. They got to be able to stop the run without DJ Jones.
Matthew Sanders says, Grant, I think you hit the point. Lynch is insecure. He might be completely outclassed as a GM. He understands optics, but is falling for sunk cost fallacy. Well, it's not that simple. I mean, he's got a winning team. He's done a lot of good things. He's got an extension. He's not necessarily a bad general manager. He might be a good general manager, but
they got a good roster.
They have it's just the trade history with him. I think a lot of people would say he's lost more than he's won in these big trades. And this is his big win. If you take this away, I'm not sure what his big win is trade-wise. So I think this means a lot. This is important for him.
He, and a couple of his trades, he's really sought out sure things, right? You're trading a second-round pick, which is a big, high pick, but you're getting D Ford. You're getting the proven entity, and D Ford's body just didn't hold up.
Right.
So that was John's desire to let's not guess in the draft, since we tried Solomon Thomas and we couldn't handicap it. So now screw that. We'll trade a second round pick. We'll get a known commodity in D Ford, and then of course there was a reason Kansas City was trading him, is because he jumps off sides at inopportune times and his body was breaking down.
I mean, I guess from Lynch's perspective, he has some sort of control over his own stock. As soon as he cuts Jimmy, his stock goes down. If he holds on to Jimmy, his stock doesn't go down. So why would you make your own stock go down when you could just wait, see if something presents itself?
See if something, surf it like a wave.
Yeah, that makes sense. I mean, from his perspective. But again, as a general manager, your job is to do what's best for the organization. And he's more, I think, in doing what's best for him. I guess it's human nature, but I just didn't realize that his job was that. I guess when you trade up that much for a quarterback, eventually everyone's job's dependent on that guy. Eventually. And you just can delay it as long as possible. And eventually it's about him. I guess.
Well, I think he wants to win the trade, because I think being evaluated within the organization, it's tied to those trades.
Right.
So he knows it. He's basically stating that to us. And that's just the culture from within. But ultimately, if they can get a day 2 pick, either a second or a third round pick, that will be worth. People, I don't care what they get; it's not worth the wait. No. If you get a day 2 pick, that is worth the wait.
Especially for John Lynch, it'll be like manna from the heavens if he gets a day 2 pick.